Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way for a movie review of a movie that I've just recently seen for the very first time. Coming your way to review the motion picture by the name of Hot Dog, the movie. You might wonder, why the hell am I reviewing this and why the hell would I want to see this? Well, I've known about this movie for several years because at some point they did apparently some outfit. I can't remember the outfit at the time, or the outfit right now, but someone put this out on Blu-ray at some point, and apparently it scores really well for like image quality and things. Was it Synapse or I don't know? Some boutique label put this out on Blu-ray unrated. And I've been thinking about blind buying this for years, and I was actually going to blind buy it recently, and then I'm like, well, let me check Tubi. It's a good thing to do if you're thinking about blind buying a movie, is to check, online, I check Tubi first, and then I'll, if it's not there, then I check YouTube or something. Turns out, like, can only assume the Blu-ray scan is actually, I don't know if it's unrated because the rating says R on Tubi, but chances are that it's the unrated version on Tubi. The Blu-ray high definition scan was, at least at the time I watched it, was on Tubi to watch for free with commercials. So I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not going to blind buy this if I can watch it first. So I watched it and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I watched it and didn't blind buy it because I don't really like it. So I'm coming at you to review it. Yeah, so at the time, so this is what? This is the 90s. So is this the 90s? Oh, no, never mind. Jesus criminy. This is the mid-80s. So at the time, movies like this that were really popular like this, like they tried to do, this is kind of what you definitely put into like the TNA comedy fare, so a movie that really would have started this genre in a lot of ways would have been Animal House probably, and movies that would go on like, even though Meatballs didn't have like TNA, it wasn't rated R, movies like, National Lampoon's Vacation and all these kind of movies from that era were the same thing. And then they started doing, well, we can do, there's a lot of these movies actually, these kind of, TNA ski competition movies, and possibly this was one of the first ones because this is like the midish kind of 1980s, so this could be one of the first ones. This movie, I was kind of excited when I saw like the credits, years ago when I became aware of this title when it was released on Blu-ray, and then the Blu-ray screenshots to see that David Naughton from American Werewolf of London was in it, and I was like, oh, he'd be cool, if nothing else, he'd be cool. Shannon Tweed's in it. Obviously, you can assume to possibly have some TNA from Shannon Tweed. So it was like, you knew, especially being unrated on Blu-ray, that it was going to be like a TNA kind of a movie, and me being who I am, I'm all for that. And, obviously, if you guys have been around the channel for years, I'll kind of wait to review these kind of movies around winter time. Obviously, if you see this movie, see this review years and years from now, and it doesn't really matter when you're seeing it, but I'm recording it and publishing it in the winter time. And obviously, being from Minnesota, winter time for us means frickin' cold and snow and things. So I generally kind of, if I'm going to review these kind of movies, this is the time of year I do it. So basically, I mean, this kind of, let's face it, this kind of story has just been told a bazillion times, and this is just another one. This poor young guy driving in for this ski competition. He's like he's a freestyle skier or whatever, driving in. He picks up this hot babe on the way who's been, kicked out of some other vehicle for not wanting to do a sexual act for a ride or whatever. Trade a ride for a ride, if you will. Well, that's not what she mentions. I don't know. I'm not going to mention what what she was asked to do or whatever. You can see the movie and find out for yourself. But picks up this babe who, incidentally, is pretty hot, and we just see side boob of her later on, unfortunately. But that's okay. There's plenty of other full-on boob, from other people. There's a scene that's kind of fun, a wet T-shirt competition, and this is just, I don't know. One thing I do like about this movie is obviously taking place in the midish kind of 1980s, and all that kind of stuff is fun. But I'm a little just, for some reason, I don't know if it was just maybe just something about this movie that didn't really gel with me very well. And even though it's like TNA, and I guess I'm not exactly sure what it was. Just I guess the I really don't know what it was about this movie that didn't really do much for me. I mean, it was only like 80 minutes long or something, or 85 minutes long, but it just seemed like to go on forever. And yeah, I guess it may be because it doesn't have much to offer other than like TNA every now and then, and whatever. And even, I mean, I guess the skiing footage was pretty good and stuff. I'm not necessarily a skiing enthusiast. I've actually I went once with my class when I was like 12 years old, and I actually was pretty good. I didn't fall down at all or anything, and I've actually been meaning to go. I want to kind of go skiing again, like downhill skiing, and I just looked today, and it just seems like so much hubbub to do, and I'm probably too cheap to do it, and I'm not sure if I ever will, but I mean, I've always kind of wanted to go downhill skiing ever since I did when I was 12, and it's not to say that I'm not, I'm not, obviously have no interest in competition or anything like that, but just going down a ski slope on skis was just kind of fun when I was 12. And the cool thing about skiing is, like, from what I can remember, I guess it depends on how cold it is and how hard the snow is, but I mean, like, if you fall down, it's not like freaking longboarding or skateboarding, or where you're on pavement or that kind of thing, where if you fall down skiing, it's not necessarily as detrimental if you fall down on longboarding or roller skating or skateboarding kind of thing. So who knows, maybe I'll go skiing someday, maybe I won't. At least I have been at some point a long time ago when I was a kid. But the movie revolves around it's the same thing, the underdog going to frickin' challenge the popular and snobbish asshole frickin' guy from Germany, the champion, the title holder, whatever the hell he is. He's gonna challenge him, and he's gonna win, and obviously, I don't need to say spoiler alert, that's what ends up happening. But one thing that I think they did, which is kind of cool, is that I think there were 3 different things he competed in, and there was some kind of bias from the actual judges, like, I guess because, having this famous German guy maybe brings in business. There was some kind of financial incentive to, you know, give the German guy, the asshole, record holder, the title holder, whatever, to give him, to favor his stuff, so it's all fixed, so the judges favor his stuff, even though it might not be as good as what the whatever, the little guy who's, poor guy who drives in an ancient truck and is trying to, the younger, more talented new guy is clearly better, but he's getting lower scores than this, famous guy who's not doing as good of stuff because it's favoritism for financial reasons, whatever. I can't get all the details of a movie in a one-time viewing, so I know that there's definitely, bias in regards to giving higher scores to the asshole German guy than the newcomer guy, even though newcomer guy is better. So I think throughout the course of the movie, which seemed like 3 hours long, even though it's probably just 80 or 85 minutes, I think there was like 3 competitions, like freestyle or ballet or freestyle and downhill jump or some crap. I mean, don't quote me, but I think there were 3 things throughout the course of the movie that they competed in, and then at the end, and honestly, I mean, I guess the stuff, yeah, I don't think I'd ever seen like ski, ballet or dance, whatever the hell they called it. That was really kind of cool stuff going on. So, if you're a skiing enthusiast, even though that this movie may not really do much for you in the category of whatever, frickin' story and or acting or in a lot of cases. I mean, it does TNA kinda or whatever, but I don't know. I guess just seeing these kind of movies, seeing these kind of movies are for like when you're a kid and you find the tape and you're not supposed to watch it, and it's like, wow, you're seeing it for the first time. But when you're my age and you've just seen everything, it's like, ooh, TNA, it's kind of like I still have the kid drive to want to see it, but then when you see it, it's like, oh yeah, well, I know what that looks like. So I think that's the overall disappointment with it, is like the kidness in you is all giddy to see it, but then when you see it, you're like, yeah, so what? I know that's there, and that's there, and that's definitely there. So, but I will say, like I say, the skiing stuff is really done relatively well and stuff. And I'm more of a fan of Earthquake, the movie, or not Earthquake, Jesus Christ, Avalanche. It's all the same freaking thing, but Avalanche, I reviewed the movie in Blu-ray years ago. I guess I'm more of a fan of that because it's not about the competition, and I mean that's got some actors that I like more and things. So that I guess it's the same kind of thing where you're at like a ski resort or whatever, and it's whatever. But this it's funny how there's TNA in that movie. I think that's PG, and there's like tits and ass briefly in that movie as well. But yeah, this one exists more or less for TNA and things. And I mean, there's people that are all for this kind of movie. I guess I'm not necessarily all for this particular movie. Like I say, Avalanche I prefer much more to this movie. One thing I will say for this movie is that it does really have really beautiful wintertime kind of winter skiing scenery, and so much of it is spent outdoors and on the ski slopes and things. So that's definitely a plus if you're looking. Obviously, you're probably looking for something like that if you're seeing this movie. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. I brought up David Naughton. I was kind of excited about him being in the movie. Well, clearly, like, I don't know, you need a decent script or a decent director to have him be entertaining. Like I kind of feel like he is in American Werewolf in London. Like in this, I mean, it's like it doesn't even matter that it's David Naughton. Like his character is so like really not much of a character. Like there's really not much to him. So I was like, maybe that was like one of my biggest disappointments with the movie, that it's just like, okay, so this guy who's in this classic ass movie in this classic role, who's actually really good in American Werewolf in London, like if he's in a production where the writing's subpar, direction is subpar, I mean, he's just going to be subpar. So it was just really surprising to see him having done something that was, so much better as a performer in American Werewolf, and then years later do this and just be like, really not much there at all or whatever. So yeah, I guess that'll pretty much do it, do it for my review of Hot Dog the movie. And I'm not exactly even sure what the hell the title Hot Dog is even about. I mean, I guess, Meatballs was a successful movie, so we'll call this guy, maybe, I don't know. Is that ski competition technology, like, or terminology? I mean, Hot Dog, like, I don't know what the hell Hot Dog has to do with skiing and TNA or whatever, but and then to call it Hot Dog the movie, like, was there Hot Dog TV show? Like, maybe there was. I mean, I wasn't watching a lot of TV in the 80s except Voltron and Dukes of Hazzard and stuff. So I guess that'll pretty much do it. What's my star rating for Hot Dog the movie? I don't think I can go much higher than, I can't go much higher than 1 star out of 4 stars for Hot Dog the movie. I mean, if you're looking for, if you're like, the thing is, kids nowadays, unfortunately, this is probably more unfortunate than it's fortunate. For kids these days, I mean, you got access to, if you want to see the female form, you've got unfettered access to see it, if you know what I mean. And, back when this came out, in the 80s or whatever, this is mostly that's pretty much it. Just kids, freaking preteens and teens to just see TNA, like, ooh boy. And if they're skiing enthusiasts, that could be helpful as well. But, it's like mostly for like kids, teenagers, or, preteens, boys. I mean, if girls appreciate the female form, more power to them. But I can just remember being a kid and just like, ooh, those scenes, those tit scenes in National Lampoon's Vacation, or, those scenes were just like, ooh, you just fast forward to those scenes as kids, you got a group of kids and it's like, oh, let's watch this. So it was a different era than now, where anyone can, unfortunately, at any age can see anything, and it's just like, yeah, so, the era to appreciate this movie has come and definitely disappeared long ago. But so this kind of movie might not really work so well in those regards now. So yeah, it's just really weird. And another thing in closing is, like, this kind of movie, and I don't know if something like this would have played in the theater, maybe limited, but this kind of movie is just so rare. They don't even really necessarily do it anymore. Where it's like you've got a movie about a sport like ski competition, and then we'll put like TNA in there as well. So it's like a titty kind of movie. These were just there were so many of them in the '80s, the good old days, and it was softcore simulated sex scenes that I mean you don't even see, and I kind of, this is one of the many things that I don't love about movies now is you don't like I think of Halloween 2018, where, look at the original Halloween from 40 years earlier. There's like a scene that stops, the movie stops, and we have a scene dedicated to simulated sex. And cut to 40 years later, it's like, ooh, you're so gonna get clothed on clothed, dry humped or whatever the hell she said, and it's like, wow, that scene, you can put on TV uncut, and well, they probably put the scene from Halloween, the original '78 movie on TV uncut too, but I'm just saying that the simulated sex in movies, like be it, R-rated comedy or just horror movies, that's what I grew up with, is movies just stopping for simulated sex, and it's just like, okay, we got that in there, and now we can go on with the movies. So this kind of a movie is definitely like a lost, art, if you will, of just like mainstream non-porn movie, but it's like kind of, I guess, like I say, for maybe parents, if they're nice, to show their teenage sons this before, like in the good old days, before they had access to the hardcore stuff. We can just segue by showing them something like this. It's even though I don't really think this movie's that great or really much of worth anything, it's a product of an era that's come and gone, that's for sure. So I guess that pretty much does it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.